Now we have some problems that have to do with the inch ruler. Rest of the world uses centimeters, but we're still using inches here in the United States, so we need to know how to measure in those. When you see the number, that's a whole inch, so there's 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, etc. Where people get confused is exactly what all these little marks are. And sometimes a ruler goes down to 1/8 of an inch, and sometimes it goes down to 1/16 of an inch. Probably it would be rare to see one that would go down to 32nds of an inch because it's hard to see. The biggest mark after the inch marks is the half mark, and it's halfway between the two numbers. So you can always know that that's the half right there, 1/2. Then there are two other marks that are the 1/4 inch marks. This mark down here, it's the next biggest mark that's made here, would be the 1/4 inch. And this would be the 3/4 inch. And, well, actually the half mark is a 1/4 inch mark too. It's 2/4, which we would simplify to 1/2. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, or 1, a whole. Inside those 1/4 inch marks, there's more. The next biggest mark in here, that would be an 1/8 inch. It's probably a little hard for you to see this here. And then the next smallest one there would be a 1/16. So this ruler is divided into 1/16. So if you want to count in 1/16, it's all of the marks. If you want to count in eighths, it's every other mark. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8. If you want to count in quarters, it's the next biggest mark up. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. If you want to count in halves, it's the one mark in the middle. 1/2, 2/2. So that's how the inch ruler works. Let's take a look at a couple of problems. This first one says segment AB is how much longer than segment BC. So segment AB runs from here to here, from A to B. Clearly it's the long segment, and BC runs from here to here. What we need to do is figure out exactly how long these two segments are, and then we'll have to do some subtraction. AB is easy because it starts at 0 here. It starts at the edge of the ruler. So we got 1 inch, 2 inch, and looks like that's a half. These marks are quarters. That'd be 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. So it's at the 2/4 of the 1/2 mark. So this is 1, 2.5 inches. BC is a little more difficult. And what I'm going to do, it looks like B starts on a half and C is at a 1/4 mark. I'm just going to count the quarters. Here's a quarter, here's a quarter, here's a quarter. So 1, 2, 3. It's 3/4 of an inch in length. And now we have to do some subtraction. 2 1/2 minus 3/4. And so we've got a problem where we're subtracting fractions, and if you remember from learning how to do this, you need to make the denominators the same. And I've got a mixed numeral here, so it's a little bit complicated. To get rid of the mixed numeral, to put this 2 into fraction forms, I would take this 2 multiplied by that 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and add it up here. So 2.5 is the same thing as 5/2. And then to put that in make the denominators the same here, I would multiply the top and the bottom by 2, and then I would get 10 on the top and 4 on the bottom, which would match the denominator here in 3/4. So 10/4 minus 3/4 would be 7/4, which if you think about it, there's 1 4 in 7 with 3 left over, so that would be 1 3/4 inch. There might be an easier way to do it if you've got this ruler up here. You're subtracting this from this. I've got 3/4 here. I could just start at B here and take away 3/4. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and I'm right here, and I'm at 1 inch and 1, 2, 3/4, which is exactly what we figured out with our subtracting fractions. Okay, let's look at one more. It says, how long is this segment to the nearest 1/16 of an inch? The ruler up top here, actually let's look at this, you can see that it goes to eighths. The small, if you count all the marks in 1 inch, you'd get 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So those are eighths. This one has got more marks than that. Looks like it's in 1/16. Here's a half, here's a quarter, here's an eighth. Yep, those are 1/16. You could verify that by counting all the marks in 1 inch, and it would count up to 16. So now we need to measure this thing. Luckily for us, it starts at 0, so we don't have to worry about that. And it definitely is somewhere between 3 and 4 inches, so it's going to be 3 and something inches. And if I look here, I've got 1/4, and then, well, it probably comes right about there at that little 16th mark. So I've got to try to figure out which 16th mark that is. It's easy enough to count the 16th marks to get up to that point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that looks like 7/16. It's right ahead of the half mark, which would be 8/16. So that makes sense that this is 7/16. So the length of the segment is 3 and 7/16. So that's a little bit of practice with the inch ruler.